Good people, what's happening? It's always good to come and spend some time with you guys. Man, I haven't posted 2 videos for 2 weeks in a row. I am slipping. Apologies for that. What's going on? I wanted to talk about power dumping and wall charging. I had been kind of thinking about this recently. It was also brought on by Shar Farmaid. She said that Blue Eddie mentioned on their live stream that was recent that power dumping is really inefficient. So much. What is it? What's the way to say that? Up to as much as 30%. I was like, okay, fair enough. Um, yeah, I have to think about that. But I was trying to find it in the live stream a really cool tip. If you hit the menu button on a YouTube video, not the settings gear, but there's an actual 3 dot joint, you can click on transcript because Google transcribes these videos. So I was trying to find it based on that. It has been very helpful to me. I haven't used it as much as I should to try and find areas in my own live stream when I'm doing some timestamps or when somebody asks about something. I'm like, what live stream was that? But anyway, I couldn't find that segment. Less stuff, more freedom. What's happening? I know I saw 2% around here. Hey, Siobhan, Mikey, what's happening? Subject to change. It's good to see you guys. Nathan, me and Nathan were talking earlier. It's good to see him around. So actually, somebody commented on a video, and I think that that's what prompted it. Somebody was saying, it's really inefficient to dump power from one power station into another. And I'm like, well, compared to what? Just have a power station be sitting full with, no solar going into it? It's like, what are we really talking about here? If I have a power station, y'all know the last live we talked about pairing panels with the appropriate watt hours of power stations and being strategic about that. So if you have a 200-watt power station that under most circumstances will give you about 1,000 watt hours or a kilowatt of power, then if you have it hooked into something like a River Max, EB70, a EB55, God forbid, I should be using God's name like that. Biden forbid. Jackery 500 or whatever, then you're gonna have some your power station is gonna get full very quickly. If a panel, my 200-watt panels put out about 142 watts. You put that into 500 watt hours, it's full in 3 hours. You know what I mean? Maybe a little less, maybe a little more. But anyway, so when you think about that, if you got a 200-watt panel, which I'm a fan of, especially in the more like consumer friendly power stations, when we get to like, your larger power stations, you have more voltage input capacity. So you can start using those home panels, the big 40 volt, 37 volt. They're technically 24 volt if you're classifying them, I suppose. But when you look at the voltage open circuit, it's like 37, 38, 40. Some of them are a little bit higher. I've seen like 45 and all that jazz. This phone should not be vibrating at all. Get out of here with the foolishness. My apologies. I always have my phones on silent. It can be problematic when people call me, but for some reason my iPhone's vibrating. I'm not an iPhone guy, I'm an Android guy, but I have iPhones because I like tech. So if you have multiple power stations, let's say you even have two, do you just let the dip sit full, or do you try and power dump into another one because the solar power is there? Let me ask you this. Is there anybody who has multiple power stations who does not power dump? And then why don't you power dump? Are you like at work so you can't control it, or you don't care? A full power station is something that gives you peace of mind and you just kind of roll with it, and then you toss it away and you hold it, hostage in the closet? Let me know in the comments. Also, some of you have made a believer out of me. if you're into liking videos and you don't mind throwing a thumbs up on this video, that would be appreciated. Apparently, YouTube looks at stuff like that, and it helps the channel out, right? Let me check some of these comments. Paco, man, say, you know how it goes. I'm still concerned, just human to human, just getting by. Well, I forgot what your answer was, but my antenna went off. Hanging in there. It's like, yeah, I get it, but I was still curious. I was concerned. Let's see. Nathan says he power dumps all the time. Get that sun power, right? And Nathan, I'd asked him to send me a picture of his setup. Nathan has that, what's the thing called? The Ego Nexus that has the ability to take in power. I don't know if I think they charge from solar now because they added a kit or a module or something like that, but they didn't always charge from solar. I don't think. I think I'm right in that. Maybe it's something else I'm thinking about. But he has that Nexus system that has all of those Ego batteries that you could pop onto there and turn them into a power station, which is pretty interesting. I could never get into it because I wasn't an Ego person, but he has those batteries, so why not, right? I have one Ego battery for my lawnmower. I'm trying to get you that info. I believe that he signs on here sometimes. Oh, interesting. Okay, let's see here. I see MJ around here. What's up, Ejo? MJ, I saw Repo. Mr. Repo, what's happening? Let's see who all is enjoying the Black Friday deals and Cyber Monday benefits. We could talk about that really quickly. Did you guys buy any deals for any stations or whatever for Black Friday? I did, as I talked about last time. I purchased the River 2 Max. Let me give an update on that real quick. I do not like the fan. So I've been messing with it. Actually, what I've been thinking about doing, because I recorded two videos, maybe even like I recorded two videos, like 3 shorts that are not necessarily going to get published. This is why I have Patreon, because I make these videos and they don't necessarily have an appeal in my mind for the overall YouTube system. But I recorded these videos and I was thinking about making them into a playlist, that the playlist is published, but it'll contain videos that are unpublished. So I'm thinking about that. If I do decide, you could look out for that on my channel. You'll have to actually go to my channel in the homepage and then look through and scroll through and see the playlists. I have multiple playlists, like Power Stations for Beginners, how I started in solar, things like that. So I may do that. But so the fan is not loud, but it's loud enough, and it's a little bit harsh sounding compared to some other fans that I have on some power stations. I purchased this power station for my Zone 1, which is my internet and my TV. So of course I want the power station to be quiet in that zone because we're watching TV, but it's really loud. And I made a post in the Facebook group today or yesterday, I believe, about the fan. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to get into what's loud, but for what I intend to use it for, I hope you guys will add the option to be able to adjust the fan. So in the original, the OG River, people complained about the fan, and they added an option to be able to pretty much turn the fan off. But I think what it does is it doesn't run the fan as aggressively. Hold on, I'll be right back. I gotta run downstairs. My microphone is still on, so I'll keep talking as long as it comes through. Maybe it'll keep coming through. I need to grab these 2 power stations so I could talk about them as well. If the audio's not coming through, it's no biggie. So I'm grabbing these 2 power stations, and the EcoFlow River 2. I've been enjoying the power, having the extra power at my desk area, not my desk area, my TV area, because what I do is I just power dump into them. I power dump into the joints with my batteries. You know, I have those 2 Dr. Prepares, and I have 1 ampere time. Did all that come through? If not, I'll start over. Deontay, what's happening? Hey, Deborah. Leela Presty, what's happening? How do you like the Alcatel? I'll talk about that in a second. Jason Noy, what's going on, man? The real question is, should we have more than 1 power station? It's tough to tell you if you should have more than 1 power station. It depends. I've done lives on 1 big one versus 2 small ones. It's hard to tell a person what they should have. I use power stations every day, no problems. John, what's happening? I agree. If your station is full and you have additional capacity on others, you are not wasting anything. That's what it's like. It's like inefficiency. Like, who cares? It's like once you buy that power station, it's free power. So let me just finish this EcoFlow River joint up. It uses, I have it in my zone 1. It's on a MC4. It's on an 8mm to MC4, and then an MC4 to XT60. What that does is that gives me a quick release to be able to unplug this power station from solar. It's so much, man. So many little nuances with the device. If they could fix the fan, if they could address the fan issue for me, I would be kind of ecstatic about the situation. It's not a perfect fit in that zone, but it's a much better one. I use it, and then I power dump from the River 2 into my Energizer P320. I haven't gotten to the point yet where I believe I could leave my internet on the EcoFlow River, and I don't want to do that because as long as I have the internet on my P320, when my EcoFlow River dies, then my internet is still running. And then the river can be charged back up through various means. Let's just say it starts to get solar that morning because it died over the night watching TV or something like that. Then as soon as it starts to get power, it comes back on, and then it's back on Wi-Fi. So I can manage it again. And then I can power dump into my EB3A to keep its internet power going. Because the EB3A doesn't have solar on it. It only takes in 60 watts of solar in the first place. If it took more than 60 watts of solar, that little power station would be a beast. I'm going to either do a video or a live stream. I'm kind of gathering my thoughts on what I feel like is the perfect power station in terms of the set of features that are important to me, or rather, more so like all power stations should have these capabilities, especially smaller ones under like 1,000 watt hours. But I'm working on that. I just started thinking about that today. So I know that the good brother Jason Noy, in his EcoFlow River base model review, his fan noise was relatively quiet. And I wonder if it would be the same for the River 2 Max, because it's just, mine is harsh and it's not obnoxious. It is kind of obnoxious, actually. The air blows and it's just like, what's a more accurate? I could grab it. Should I grab it? I'd have to put some power into it or take some power out of it. And I don't have anything to pull power out of it, but I can put power into it. I'm gonna grab it. Let me get it. I'll let y'all hear it. As much as I hate unplugging power stations, I'm gonna unplug this one. Oh, this XT60 is snug. That has both pros and cons. I think I did like an unboxing on it, and like this is it right here. I give you some impressions real quick. It feels, the build quality is not as good as the original EcoFlow. It feels like a toy. It's very hollow in terms of the feel of it. It's kind of, that's how I feel about it. I actually went downstairs to grab the light's still on. I went downstairs to grab this one. You can even hear that sounds different. It's like that one feels a little, but it's like feels sturdier on this one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a 100 watt rated cable and I'm going to charge it from the Alcatel P501, which I am giving away. I'm going to try and find that footage tonight or tomorrow, and I'm going to edit that video and I'm giving it away in the video. The video is not about me giving this away. It's kind of like a little Easter egg at the end of the video. It's not an Easter egg in terms of what an Easter egg means. It's a little blip in the video where I talk about it, and then I'm going to let people comment, and I'm going to pick a comment from those who watch the whole video. So you got to watch the whole video. But I'm going to try and upload that video either in the next day or so, or give me a couple days. If I can find the footage, it will be the next video that I upload. The good thing about this particular device is it doesn't have a bi-directional joint. So when I plug the cable into it, it's going to give it 100 watts. And let's just see if you can pick up on what this fan is putting down. I need a 100 watt cable, but I need a shorter one. I'll just use this one. I actually separate out my my cables. I have a little bin for my 60 watt rated cables, and I also have a bin for my 100 watt rated cables, because I just get tired of not knowing which cables are rated for what. So what I'm actually about to do is to power dump. Now, this Alcatel P501, perfect for power dumping, except it's not LiPo, but it's 500 watt hours of capacity. It's kind of like a bonus power station. This is what I would use it for. I would charge this up from whatever. I would probably have to power dump into this one from AC, but that's a whole nother story. So I'm going to power dump from it into the EcoFlow River 2 Max. This thing is light, that's for sure. A lot lighter. So 100 watts is definitely going to set the fan off. That's for sure. Let me turn this dip on. Power dump in the flesh. This is at 41%. And you just listen. $93 right there. Can you hear that? Let me see. What side is it coming through the most? Now, I don't know if that's coming through, but imagine you're watching TV and this turns on and it runs almost, no lie, the whole time. Hey, Auntie Blessings. Hey, Cow Dog Connoisseur. All my units charged from solar. I know that's right. Can y'all hear that fan? What do you think? Yes, we can hear it. Okay, thank you, Siobhan. Thank you very much. That's a bit much. And it's not necessarily a situation where it's like it's getting hot. It's like because it's charging, because it meets a certain watt threshold, the fan is going to come on and it's going to stay on and it's not going to turn off. The interesting thing about it is if you plugged a different source into it, like if you started charging it for something else and it caused it to reset, the fan will turn off. So I don't think it's about heat. I just think it's something about it that's being triggered. I still have it running in the background. Can you still hear it? I can't deal. I just can't. It's not the worst, but I'm not a fan. So the lady, I think her name is Lauren, in the EcoFlow group, she says she passed it on to her R&D department. So hopefully they can address this. Now, realistically, I didn't think about returning it like for real, because it was such a great deal, I would probably never return this dip. But if it doesn't, um if the fan issue doesn't get addressed, then it's not, that's the only reason why I bought it. I don't know where else I would deploy it. It would almost be a waste of a power station. And I mean, I could figure it out, but XT60 is such a specific connector that if I put it on a panel, I could charge nothing else. And I really only have 200-watt panels. I mean, like, I got a 100-watt floating around here and there, but where would I want to put this in my system where I want this fan going all day? Down in the basement is where I kind of like having my larger power stations, because that's where my larger panel arrays are. But this would get full in a minute. So in the home, in the zone one, the TV and internet, it was perfect ish for the money that I spent. The Delta 2 would be perfect in that zone, or something bigger would be perfect. I'm going to unplug it because I don't want to hear this the whole live stream. It's crazy. Bananas. But I would power dump into it just like that. And I love the fact that it has that bi-directional USB-C port, because I'm sitting in a situation where my internet uses 20 watts, my TV uses 40. If I could dump 100 watts into it, then I'm sitting pretty. Even if a lot of these stupid 12 volt, I got a couple around here somewhere. I don't think they're on this desk. Oh yeah, they are. One of them is. I don't like these stupid little plugs, but they're a means to an end. Sometimes these plugs, once they get hot, they drop from the 100 watts or the 90 watts down to 60. But even if I'm doing only 60, I'm still breaking even. So because it's such a high watt hour capacity compared to the load that it runs over there, if I'm running 60 at the end of the day, I have a Dr. Prepare with a 12-volt adapter on it, which is 1200 watt hours. I mean, I'm good to go. I'm not going to sit here and try to math on the fly, but it's been really nice. I haven't had really any major situations outside of it being like not sunny for like 2 or 3 days where I really gotten behind the ball on power. But when it was sunny, it was lovely. The only downside is the freaking fan. All right, let me see what's going on with these comments. I know somebody asked me a question I need to swing back to. Okay, less stuff, more freedom. Hope everything is nice and peachy in your neck of the woods. I'm always peachy. As long as my wife ain't upset with me, I'm peachy. And not that she's that kind of woman. I mean, you guys some of you guys have come to know my wife. But that relationship is the only thing that really has a drastic impact on me. That's what I mean. Let's see. Okay, subject to change says you dropped it down and bought the AC 200 Max. I ain't mad at that. What was it, $15.99? That was around the Kickstarter price, I think. And that's when I was thinking about buying it. I didn't end up getting it for a whole situation it worked out perfectly, because me and the missus just weren't on the same page. So I took that as a sign from God to be like, you need to relax, because I had asked him about it. So we couldn't get on the same page. I didn't spend that money, and I don't have an AC 200 Max. Whatever. But it was a nice device. I was impressed with that device, especially if I was going to spend my money on it. That was me that commented that I was looking at how to be efficient with the power usage as opposed to dumping and burning up life cycles. Yeah. Okay, cool. So it was like this idea of life cycles in terms of like, yeah, I remember talking about life cycles. Most of my power stations, which I responded to, most of my power stations are LFP. And even if it was like the EcoFlow River, the OG model, it's like it's 500 cycles and it only goes down to 80%. So it's like, I'm banging. I'm banging on these power stations. I need to do a capacity test on my EcoFlow River because I think it's definitely at 80%, which is crazy because it didn't get good AC inverter, whatever capacity ratings from the get-go. Everyone Jason Noy has done has hit like 73%. I've been meaning to think about it in terms of, okay, so if 85% is what Jason Noy likes, I feel like 80% in my mind is what I default to If it gets more than that, fine. But 80% is what I'm used to. I do that calculation for my panels and I do that calculation for my power stations. I kind of default to like, if I'm getting 80% of that, I'm good to go. I've conditioned myself, I suppose you could say. So I want to do a test on that to see how much capacity it's actually getting. I'm not pressed to do that because that's not very important, but yeah, I am interested. Let's see. I agree if your power station. Yeah, yeah. And here's the interesting thing about all of this. This is really, the basis of this is that even as you get to certain levels, typically we kind of start out like some of us can go for the gusto and spend, $1,600 on a nice big power station. But here's the interesting thing about that. Setai, he was talking about that. He was saying like as you scale up, the power stations begin to be less good at what they're powering. You know what I mean? If you heat is like a bad example because you really shouldn't be using a normal heater on a power station. But it's like if you're running your fridge, right? And it uses about on average 100, 125 watts an hour. That's like a day. You know what I mean? It's like you got a day of refrigerator use out of your power station if you got like a 2000 watt hour power station. Now, if we assume rightfully so in most places that you'll get some power the next day, but you tend to outgrow them. So power dumping as it relates to how much money we actually have to spend, how many coins we actually have to spend to get a little peace of mind, we typically start out with a 300 watt hour, a 500 watt hour, maybe like a 1,000 watt hour device to give us some peace of mind if the power goes out. And then what happens is you begin to upgrade. But if you're not pairing your panels well with your power stations, if you're not taking into account how much power your panels are going to produce, you will find yourself typically, like most of us, having multiple power stations and more power than you can use because the power stations don't have this perfect balance, right? You would almost need like 13, 14, 20 kilowatt hours to like really run everything in your home if you were into that kind of thing. And most of us are not into that because it's just not practical. But even if you did, you get a day. You know what I mean? So if you parse that down, let's say your typical bill, the average household uses about 18, 19, 21 kilowatt hours a day. Maybe a little more, a little less. Even if you went, gotten some massive power station, even the Tesla Powerwall, those are things of what, 7 kilowatts, and you get two of those, you got 14. I'm not saying you parse it down. Look, you don't power your whole house when the power is off. But to run those things that matter and to maintain a lifestyle that you're used to, these power stations don't provide a whole lot of runtime. I mean, it just is what it is. Now, because of that, we typically buy at a certain point, you end up with multiple power stations, and the sun is, let's say the sun's popping for like 3 days straight. Tell me you haven't been running around the house trying to find stuff to put on your power station. And I feel like when you run out of stuff to put on your power station is going to get full. So then you power dump. I'm a proponent of power dumping heavy. Some of the things that I power dump into is I'll take my EB3A, which is running one of these lamps right now, EB3A, my EB120. I could show you. It's this thing is heavy. Can it reach this dip right here? Oh my gosh. I'll take, and because it's my more portable one out of my bigger power stations that live in the basement, downstairs I have the Acevo. Somebody asked me about the Alcatel. The Alcatel, I have the EB120, and I have my batteries that charge over the MPPT charge controller. I also have the EB3A down there. That's a long story, not necessarily, but I won't get into it again. I'll take that and I'll throw that 45 watts into my into my Energizer. So my Energizer runs my internet. My internet is 20 watts, so it's getting 45 watts into it. That'll make sure it lasts throughout the night, and I don't have to worry about the internet turning off. So I power dump from that. I also power dump before I got the River 2. I used to power dump from my EcoFlow into many things. I would power dump into the Big Blue, which can charge via both USB-C ports 6060, and it can charge via 5525. So you get like another 40 or 50 watts of power. That thing is a power dumping monster. I like that it's LiFePO. I have another power station, the Bullbat, that can be power dumped to in the same fashion, 6060, 5525. But it's not LiFePO, so I still use it, but it's not LiFePO, so I know I can't hammer it for its cycles. I don't power dump as much into the what is this? The Oops, because it's kind of hard to charge. It dual charges, but it has to use that 8mm and USB-C. I don't have a ton of 8mm cables. What I have done is I've sought to adapt a 5521 male to male cable to 8mm for ease of charging, because getting a 12 volt to 8mm is, I told you the 12 volt plugs are annoying to me. So I like the 5525. I keep saying 25. I like the 5521 male to male cable. I've always been a fan of that. Adapted to 8mm, and then I could more easily charge the Oops. You can also do, if you have a power station that has a USB-C output, even better, has two USB-C outputs. I have cables that go from USB-C to 5521. This is an adapter that does the same thing. Let me see if I can give you some love there. So that's a USB-C to 5521. Adapt that. It looks like that. You plug a USB-C cable into it, right? And then you got this magical little 60-watt contraption that can charge a 5521 power station, an 8mm power station, or anything else, and it comes from a USB-C PD port, which is cool. That makes power dumping for me easier, because the 12 volt is annoying. The 12 volt little cigarette adapter style things, it just gets on my nerves. I hate doing it. And I also don't have a bunch of those cables. I did reach out to Bluetti. Setite was telling me that Bluetti responded to him, and I had been meaning to do it. I finally did it. Setite's channel is called Setite Tech Adventures. Oh, he's around here. He was telling me that Bluetti got back to him. So a couple of days later, I pulled the trigger and I shot an email over to them. So they're going to be sending me an MC4 to 8mm cable. Excuse me. Interestingly enough, when those cables were $10, I bought two of them. But I'm like, hey, send me my one you sending everybody else. And Lynn, who responded to me, asked me if I needed the 12 volt cable as well. And I was like, yeah. She was like, okay, I'll send that over too. Somebody asked me about the Alcatel. The Alcatel is doing fine. The Alcatel and the Ace Volt are interchangeable. Now, let me tell you something. Was it the Alcatel? Is the Ace Volt? This is back to this idea of this series I may put together of these videos that I'm making related to this EcoFlow River Max that may not be published, but I'll make them available in some capacity if I decide to do it. I was trying to charge the River from solar, because I like to charge my power stations from solar power, whether it's from a solar panel. Actually, that's not true. I like to do my first charge from the wall, but because I have bigger power stations now, I'll do my first charge from the AC outlet of a power station. So I was trying to charge the EcoFlow River 2 from the Ace Volts AC adapter, and I can't remember what the issue was I was running into. Oh, it wouldn't keep charging. It was weird. So then I went through this whole thing of trying to charge it from the wall and trying to charge it from the Alcatel, and the Alcatel actually charged it. I ended up looking at the volts on it. Both of them did about 110 volts. One did 108 volts. But then I took it to another power station, which did 108 volts. I think it was the EB120, and it charged it just fine. It was a weird situation. I don't, if I put the video out, y'all be able to see it. The Patreon folks will definitely get the clip, because like I said, that's why I have Patreon. Some of these videos would not see the day of light if I didn't have a non-YouTube outlet for them, because they're not necessarily for the masses. I'll say that. They say in the YouTube world that people have short attention spans, and I live with this. One, I value people's time because I hate when a YouTuber doesn't value my time. So I make my videos very concise. I'm already a concise communicator. I hate kind of extraneous uh, words and ideas. I hate reading books that just reiterate stuff over and over again. It's just like, dude, just give me the information. I'm not an idiot. I don't need you to give me 13 examples of the thing you just shared, the principle you just shared. One example, maybe two, but you got 3 page fillers, baby, basically like fluff. So I'm extremely intentional with, not wasting you guys' time in my videos, because I hate to have my time wasted, and I respect your time. The worst thing is to be on somebody's video and they're meandering and stuff like that. It's just like annoying. I'll tell you a secret. Maybe you could 2x the video. I 2x a lot of videos because I'm just into that, even for videos that don't waste my time. But that video is a little bit more casual. I'm doing some testing. There could be some dead spots and stuff like that. It's going to be cool for people who are like diehard kind of solar fans like myself. But I'm also intentional with, even in my long-winded, I shouldn't say that, even in me having a longer video, I'm still going to try and edit it as well as I can, time permitting. And then, just kind of keep it moving. Something you could kind of sit down and relax to while you watch me test this freaking dip. I also, this particular EcoFlow has an issue. To button that up, the Alcatel is doing fine. I gave that example because the Ace Bolt was being weird with the joint when it was charging at about 600 some odd watts, but the Alcatel seemed to handle it fine. And I ended up charging it, doing the full charge from the Alcatel. So Alcatel is good money. Let's see here. There's always more room for power stations. That's a fact. Currently, I have multiple power stations and do not power dump, but each station gets powered up and utilized without the need to dump. That's interesting. I feel like you found synergy. I'm not there yet. Okay, I answered that. How do you like the Lila Presti? Thanks for that, man. It's always good to see you around. Deborah says, how is the Dr. Prepare battery holding up? I'm thinking about getting a couple with the little hub on top of it. What do you think about that battery? I love that battery, Deborah. I don't have one. I actually emailed Dr. Prepare to see if they would send me one. I don't have like an active relationship with them. We worked that one time with that one battery, but I would love to make a video on that dip. I think it's really cool. I think batteries now, I still have to make that video. I'll be making that video soon, about like just using batteries in conjunction with your power stations, and how, straightforward and kind of easy that is. It's a little bit, it can be intimidating because the ease of power stations is just that. That's why I like power stations. But I guess you can't beat this idea of spending $400 for 1.2 kilowatt hours of power. You can't beat that. The idea of that is just, it's nice. And it gets to this idea of just having power in case you need it. Then you got to put some pieces with it, because how are you going to charge it? How are you going to discharge it? But I'm gonna make a video about it, and it's gonna be like just super easy because I like my stuff really straightforward. Jason Noy made a video about it, but Jason Noy is very like savvy. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, yeah, you could make your Anderson cables, and it was very like comprehensive, but it was a little too complex for me. So I'm gonna make a simple, straightforward one. I like to keep it simple. Let's see. I got the EcoFlow 400 watt panel for $730, almost $500 off. That's interesting. I feel like that's a good deal. Only just in terms of the fact that you got it for $70 below what typical folding watt panels go for. I'm not signing on to this idea of a portable panel, a folding panel for more than $2 a watt. I'm not here for it at all. They play too much. So $800 for that 400 watt, you got it for 730, you're doing good. I get what you're saying, but my value system is like $2 a watt. That's it. You get above $2 a watt, you wildin'. Good look though. I love the idea of having those 400 or that 350 from Blue and just being able to ground deploy that dip to get the power. Because I don't have large power needs, and any folding panel that I deploy is just bonus. It's lanyap, as we say in the Indo, and as they say in French language. It's extra. And I like that idea to be able to easily deploy. Let's say you fold that dip flat and you're getting 200 watts. Let's not even talk about a summer day. You flat deploy a folding 400-watt panel. That's love, man. Love all day. That's a good mic. Oh, did it work all the way down? It went all the way down into the basement. That's pretty cool. This mic is dope. That's why I spent the coin on it. It was a lot of coin. I mean, for me, somebody was, I think it was Roberto Blake. I was watching one of his videos. He was talking about the importance of audio. And he was saying that some people spend, the base is $300 on a microphone. They could spend, and it's like, yeah, they get that good crispy sound. I ain't there. But 300 for two mics, wireless. I have, this YouTube channel. We have a family YouTube channel. My wife and I, if she ever settles into wanting to do the videos, we plan to do videos and content. It was a good pickup. It hurt my pockets though. It was a good pickup. Kimberjack gave money towards the microphone, I believe. So shout out to Kimberjack. I appreciate that. Rob. I got a second Blue Yeti EB3A. Greetings from Rotterdam. That's cool, man. That's cool. I like going on Google Maps and looking at these places that you guys tell me you're from, especially if they're in like the United Kingdom or Europe or something like that. I just think that stuff is interesting. Every now and then I'll go to like Africa and like look around like Joburg or Johannesburg, or I'll look around like South Africa or some place, because Google Street View is pretty much everywhere. And it's cool to see just the environment. I think that stuff is nice. I've never done Jamaica. I should do Jamaica next. I'm just thinking you should have a backup. Hey, two is one is none. That's what they say in the preparedness community. I subscribe to that 100%. So yeah, to answer your question, 2%, you should have two power stations. Absolutely, unequivocally. There you go. There you go. Watch the upcoming video. Maybe you could win the Alcatel, right? Let's see. I'm looking at it also from long term. For instance, if my power station is good for 3,500 life cycles, then I'm getting 10 years out of that system. But if I'm power dumping, I might only get 9. I don't. So basically, that's money. I talked about this last time. I used the example of growing up in the Black community, and I made the note of even in poor communities, it was a common theme that when you got school clothes and school shoes, when you got home, you had to take off your school clothes and your school shoes, and you had to play in your play clothes and your play shoes. Um, and it's like this idea of like, yeah, when you do that, yes, you preserve your stuff, it'll last a little longer. But if you don't do that, it won't last as long, but you look fly. You know what I mean? You get to impress your friends. I feel like 9 years. Well, let me say this. I wouldn't power dump for no reason. I power dump for no reason because I live a thug life, but I wouldn't intentionally power dump. And then this idea of 10 years, 3,500 cycles, if you power dump it. Let's also get into this a little bit. Setai could probably maybe try and speak to this a little bit better than I can, or maybe even Jason, or if he's still around. Let's say you power dump to keep your power station within 20 to 80%, which is the ideal space for these batteries where they like to exist. My understanding is that the top 20% is the hardest on the battery, and the bottom 20% is the hardest on the battery. So let's say you power dump to maintain that ebb and flow. Okay, I'm approaching 80%. That's why EcoFlow and these apps have the ability to tell the battery to stop charging. So then you would be prolonging your battery life. So it's like, but if the device is made to give you 10 years, that's 10 years to 80%. So your device is still good. Jason Orr has even endeavored to do some math. I don't necessarily understand how he did the math. More so, I mean, I understand it intellectually, but I don't understand it in terms of application, like why he did the math the way that he did it. But he has calculated how, LiFePO and its cycles and what that top 20% is worth in a lithium ion or versus a lithium iron phosphate. So I don't think it's that big a deal to be concerned with that. But I hear you. I get it in terms of the value mindset, because it's like, look, I spent money on this dip. I want it to last as long as possible. Is it fair to say, said title Jason Noy, that the 20 to 80% is a better way to preserve the battery than being worried about cycles and power dumping and all that jazz? I don't know. I don't know. I think I said hello to Cow Dog Connoisseur. Has anybody charted the voltage drop of a 40-foot cable? No. It's such a interesting video to do, but I think as YouTubers we have more interesting videos to do. I think it's just like, oh, it would be cool to do that. That's a cool video. I may do something like that soon, but I may not. I don't know. It's such an interesting video. I do hopefully want to do a video to look at the voltage between a 10 gauge 50-foot cable and a 12 gauge 50-foot cable to see what the voltage drop is. But here's the thing. I don't know realistically what kind of voltage drop you can deal with in such, they're short-ish lengths. They're not super long. But at your amps, even if you drop 2 volts, right? That's only that volt times how many amps is coming through that line. So if you got a 10 amp panel, that's just 20 watts. If you got a 5 amp, it's just 10. You know what I mean? You lose out on 10 watts. So you're getting 135 instead of 145. To get my panels further away so they're in the sun longer, I don't know if I care about voltage drop as much. Again, it's just like you weigh your pros and cons there. I'd rather have them in the sun longer. So you think about it, to keep it, for me, just in my situation, I don't know why people do lengths in their situation. I do lengths to keep my panels in the sun longer. So to get my power stations closer to me, the convenience of that, and get my panels further out into areas that get the sun on them longer. That's typically why one would get an extension cable. You want to get it out to where the sun is. That's what I would think. So to lose 20 watts, to get a whole extra 135 watts instead of 145 watts for a whole hour. So to lose 10 watts to gain 135 for that extra hour that is out in the sun, I think that's worth it. It's a no-brainer to me. Now, I don't know if voltage drop is significant to where you're dropping. I mean, somebody knows the math. It's like you lose 0.1 something per foot. So yeah, that's my thought on it. I'll take the L for the extra runtime of solar. I remembered who DM'd me. Let's see, where did you message me? Oh, interesting. I'm gonna have to try and read that. Okay, electric. Okay, cool. Wow. He's testing, comparing. So both of you may have a lot in common. Okay, I'll check it out. She shared the video, waveform science. Interesting. All right, I'm gonna have to get into that a little later, and then maybe we'll talk about whatever I find in that joint on the live stream. So we'll have a part 2 of this, maybe. Some of them pass through power. Okay, what's up, bro? Is it louder than the EB55? I don't have the EB55. Um, I have the EB70. The EB70 fan is loud, but that's why it's not in my TV zone. You feel me? It's like it's right here in my work zone, and I get accustomed to it in my work zone because it reminds me of a computer, a loud computer. But in my TV zone, like I could almost even deal with it if it's charging from no, I wanted to say I could almost even deal with it if it's charging from solar if that fan needs to run. But charging from anything else, but that doesn't really matter. So that's why I scratched that. Uh I don't know. That's a good thought. I'll have to see. I'll have to see. And I don't have an easy way. I don't have an easy way to charge this EB70 because it can only be charged through the 8 millimeter port. That's from AC, solar, and 12 volt. That's why I like a power station that has various ports. The the River 2 can be charged via AC, it can be charged via XT60, and it can be charged via USB-C. If any one of those fail, it can still be used. If that 8 millimeter port fails on that EB70, it's done. You're going to have to take it apart and figure it out. My EB120, same thing. One port is done. I like at least two, man, but give me three and give me triple charging or dual charging or something. That was a great letdown of that EcoFlow River too, that it can't dual charge from solar and USB-C or AC and USB-C. I would have loved to be able to charge from solar and USB-C. That would have been dope in my mind. I don't know if how many use cases I have for that, but it would have been dope. The big inverters seem to just run things. Okay. The big inverters seem to just run things that are smaller units can run for longer, or big things for a short time. But I find they suck for anything medium time to power. Yeah, you run out of the power quickly. I dig it. And that's I was talking with Setite about this. It's like my thing is I don't have big items to run in my house. And even if I did, those things will probably just stay on wall power. I don't have a whole lot. I mean, my main thing is, and I feel like most people's main thing is their food and entertainment. You want your food to not go bad and you don't want to be bored if the electricity is out. I think then you get into comforts and stuff like that, but comforts aren't necessary, man. You get a blanket, you know what I mean? Like you put a fan in, you thug it out. Everything else is kind of irrelevant. You need lights, you know. But I guess, when you get to a certain point where you're starting to use some of this stuff, and also, I mean, you have the intentions of having like a homestead kind of situation. So I get that. And you're a tech savvy guy. So it's not like you're returning to a simpler lifestyle. So that's important. I get it 100%. That's why everyone has extra batteries now, but the solar inputs on some of these is too small to charge the batteries fast. Like the Delta Max was 6 kilowatts, but 800 watts of solar. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't really get into the extra battery stuff, especially with EcoFlow. Now, Bluetti with their extra batteries, I mean, the solar input is still kind of limited on that. And then you would end up with a situation where I'm essentially getting away from. I talked about this in Will Prouse's latest video about, I think the AC 500. I was kind of clowning. He was like, anybody who wants to build a real solar system. I was like, what do you mean real solar system? How dare you? But I was clowning. Um, Hopefully he gets my sense of humor by now. Um, you end up with a similar situation where you have these multiple panels coming into multiple power stations, which I'm not knocking. The reason why I've had to have multiple power stations have multiple panel situations is because I had to deal with the limitation of the power stations that I had. But if I had a situation where AC 200p, AC 200 max, EcoFlow Delta Pro, EcoFlow whatever, where those ones have those 145 volts, then I think I've talked about this before. I want to be able to put those panels in series. Now, the downside of series is it treats it all as one big panel. So you get shade on one, you're out of luck. And that's a problem in my yard. That's another thing that kind of has me have different power stations on different panel joints, because I got an 8 volt and an Alcatel and two 200-watt panels. This is just, kind of back in the day. It's like, why put 400 watts in parallel? Let's walk through this a bit. Why put 400 watts in parallel only to have the Alcatel take 5 of those amps, because it's two 200-watt panels in parallel. Parallel is going to combine the amps. So that's 10 amps plus 10 amps, or 8 amps plus 8 amps, 9 amps plus 9 amps, 11 amps plus 11 amps, however your panel situation is. So it's all of that. What 10 plus 10 is 15. 8 plus 8 is 15. 11 plus 11 is 15, because it has a 15 amp limit. But if you put that dip in series and you get shade on one of those panels, you get no power. So I might as well, because I have the 8 volt and the Alcatel, take those two 200-watt panels, run the cables, and have one go into one, can move that one around, can chase the sun. One go into the other one, can move that one around, chase the sun. And then at the end of the day, I'm still getting 400 watts of solar in on paper. I have multiple power stations. Why not do it? If you have multiple power stations and you have the limitations of those power stations to contend with, then why not do it? Let's keep it simple. Let's say you have the also, I'm a proponent of multiple power stations. You have the EB3A and you have like the River 2. Both of those can, the River 2 can't take in 200 watts of solar. What a bum. Okay, realistically, you have the EB3A. Max is at 200 watts of solar. Realistically, 160, max 166, but you got to get a really high voltage. So let's just say 160. You have two Renogy 100-watt panels, two HQST 100-watt panels, whatever the brand of your choice is, two New Powers, whatever, two Bouge-RVs. You could take those two panels, put them in parallel, and go into the EB3A and get 160 watts. Or you could take one of those panels, get maybe 80 watts on one and 80 watts on the other. Now, if you angle them great and you're at a good longitude and latitude or whatever it is to get like better power, then let's say you're getting 85 watts, 90 watts. I've seen as much as 90 watts from my Renogy panel. I have a picture of my Renogy, two joints in parallel, giving my EcoFlow River base model back in the gap 181 watts. That's 90 watts a piece. Why settle for 160 when you could get 180 separately? So you could get 90 on one, 90 on the other. And you could power two different zones of your house instead of having one power station getting all the power. Keep in mind that 200 watts is going to fill that power station up like that. So you can have two zones powering multiple things, making good use of that power with those. Instead of having one situation, you have two. So that's why I have multiple power stations, multiple panels, going into multiple situations, cables all over the place. But I'm trying to consolidate, because as the power stations get better and bigger, for me personally, as I get more power stations that are more capable, then I can run all of those panels in series, and then I could put them in such a way that for the most part, they don't get a whole lot of shade on them. But once they get shade on them, it is what it is. Luckily, I have other situations where I could chase the sun with those, you know what I mean? Especially in the summer. But it's all very interesting. It's just like, listen, I'm a problem solver and I value my coins, I value my output. So I'm just trying to maximize the situation. Sometimes this one video that I got coming out, I have like all 17 of my panels out there getting sun, because I know, one, I can do it. Two, there's gonna be rainy days ahead, so why not bang out? And it's like, I'm into that. I like to maximize my situation. So I had a bunch of stuff out. Even my 50-watt Renogy panel, my OG panel, was out there charging a GoLabs R300. Now, in some situations, what I have to weigh, because I could take the big blue and I could put it outside on its 100-watt panel, but then my EB120 is downstairs full, right? That don't make no sense. Sometimes that catches me. So then I'll just take the EB 120 and I'll power dump from that into the Jackery or into the Big Blue. It's like I'm managing these situations. Now, here's the interesting thing. In this particular situation right here, you can't see me. I'm pointing down to my EB70. I'm thinking about bringing my 8 volt or my Alcatel up. So the short that I put out today is kind of the motivation. Me putting that big panel on that chair, that 200-watt rich solar, I was trying to think about like how can I maximize more power into this zone right here, which is my work zone, because the EB70, it didn't matter to me if that panel laid flat. It would get about 700 watts of solar per day. So that's perfect for here. It wasn't ideal. It's always ideal to get more power. But because I have panels all over the place, I don't have to stress or manipulate as much and chase the sun as much to get power because we're a low power usage household. But if I have a bigger power station here, then now it's a situation where I'm like, well, how can I figure out how to get more power into this dip? And I thought about all sorts of scenarios, like maybe taking my Renogy 320 and running that into it from downstairs in my yard. But that wouldn't work out. I could still do it one day, but it wouldn't work out. I'd have wires hanging over the banister. I could make it work, but I don't know if it's necessary because then the 200-watt panel that's on my porch, what is it doing? You know what I mean? So it's just like, oh, well, maybe I stop putting this 100-watt panel on the chair and angling it towards the sun to get the best possible sun situation for the Jackery 300, which is what it was plugged into, or for the Oops 500-watt hour joint, which is weird sometimes because the fan running drains the dip more than sometimes the solar can come in. So if you're getting like 15 watts, 20 watts from solar, that fan is running constantly and it's draining the power station. It's a really poorly designed kind of thing as it relates to solar. Their first version had that problem, something serious. The second version still kind of has that problem, but it's not as bad. So if you leave that power station plugged into a solar panel and the sun's not out toward the end of the day, the fan is just going to run and run and run. And in some instances, that can kind of negate you having the panel out there in the first place, especially laying flat, because laying flat is only producing about 30 watts, 40 watts in the first place in winter sun. So it's a whole thing. So I decided to put that 200-watt panel on that chair. And now I'm beast moding on this EB70, as you saw in the short today, if you saw the short. All right. Anthony Moore or T. Anthony. What do you think is more important, watt hours and inverter size? It depends on your situation, but I would say watt hours is probably more important than inverter size in the grand scheme of things, because let's just be realistic. If your power went out, you probably may not need to use your microwave. You know what I mean? It's like you should probably have some other situation to warm up food or some other like non-perishable food that you could eat. I'm trying to think of what else you would need a bigger watt hour capacity for. I mean, a watt inverter capacity for. It's like, what would you need it for? I mean, to wash clothes, I guess. So I think watt hour capacity is pretty important. But if you're thinking about this from a preparedness standpoint and you want to have your bases covered, okay, wait, I'm sorry. That's my filter coming through. So one thing you have to think about is the watt inverter capacity has a lot to do with how much stuff you can run at one time. But people, these people in these RVs who have smaller systems, they kind of like they ebb and flow. They know they can't run their AC while they're running the microwave. They know they can't run their TV boom 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 while the microwave is going. So they have to turn some stuff off. So you can kind of work with it. But it kind of all gets into a situation with how much of your normal life do you want to preserve. That's my take on it. So those things can kind of go either way, but I think realistically, when it all comes down to it, you want to be able to run stuff longer. Like Settight's point, even with the bigger power stations with the 2,000-watt inverters, it's a 2,000-watt inverter against a 2,000-watt hour battery. If you start, that's why he was talking about the importance of batteries and people getting more capacity. That's not necessarily my type of hype. I'm not anti, but for the money that I have to spend on power stations, that doesn't fit into my situation. I would much rather have multiple big power stations than a big power station with multiple batteries, because then the more you extend those batteries, that's the more solar you have to put into it. And you could find yourself sitting at 30% all the time because you got a 10 kilowatt system, but you got a solar panel that's only going to put out 1,500 watts the day. So it's like the whole day. So you got this big old system and you can't get no power into it. Uh, uh, you know, I can't help but inject my personal value system into it, but I try to be broad in how I talk about this stuff. So they're both important in a situation where it's like money is that's the variable that starts to make you ask these questions about, okay, well, what's important, watts or watt hours? Well, it's like it depends on how much money you have. I finished dude ghetto stuff. Finished ghetto adding the DIY batteries to the AC 200p and still couldn't charge them more though. Close, but the draw was still too much. Interesting. Depends on what you are doing. For emergencies, I think watt hours are more important. For off-gridding, it's inverter until around 1800 watts. Then you need more watt hours again. That's an excellent point. Excellent point. Oops, right? What's up, Dennis? How you doing, man? Is there a practical, manageable procedure charging and discharging the Dr. Prepare batteries? Yes. Practical and manageable. Yes. I will make a video about it. But the quick and dirty is you get you a LiPo battery charger and get you an inverter. Done. In the case of power stations, you could get you a battery clamp to 12-volt socket or a ring terminal to 12-volt socket, and then you could just kind of rock out that way. I love that aspect of charging stuff from a battery. I'll just take a 12-volt socket that's adapted to my battery, do ring terminal or clamp, and I'll plug this little 12-volt adapter right into my computer. Then my computer's being charged off of a 1,200-watt battery. No issues for battery capacity. It's not like this little 300-watt Go Labs or the 300-watt EB3A. I have no issues doing that. It's like, there's no sweat. That's the easiest way to do it, in my opinion. Deontay, let us know how well they perform. True that. Let's see. Just came home from an all day at Mavis Tire. Had to leave the car there. They were having problems fixing. Okay, I got you. Oh, okay. You must be talking to somebody. For now, I'm still power dumping. In fact, power dumping right now. I wanted to talk about wall charging. Let me not let that get away from me. So let me see what y'all comments are about. I like to see the efficiency of a $400 1.2 kilowatt power station. Are you talking about the battery? I have too many power stations to not do. Now, I call you Sharon, but I was on your profile because I saw your post on Facebook, and I saw your pronunciation was, what was it? SHAH, Sharon? I don't know. It was something that my brain took a while. So we're just going to figure it out. I know our power has been increased and my bill is an extra $26. So a larger generator would be great. I bought an inverter, 4,000 watts, just looking for good batteries. Now, I can't speak to this, but I was watching stuff about inverters. Certain inverters, you kind of have to pair them well with your batteries too. You can't just like put a 3,000 watt inverter. Let me not say that. My understanding of what the people were saying is you can't just pair an inverter with like a singular battery. They have to be sized appropriately because I think of the amp draw or something like that. It was weird. One dude was talking about it could have been like Paradise 808s or whatever in Heartbreaks. I'm not sure what that channel name is. It was saying that in order to put this inverter, you need at least 2 of these batteries in parallel. I like to keep this stuff simple. I'm not necessarily in it to be putting batteries in parallel. because that inhibits the mobility of the batteries. I have a basement, a upper level, and a second floor. I need to be able to just grab one battery and do something with that one battery. Putting two batteries in a cart, that just wouldn't work out for me. Um, so, connecting batteries together is just not ideal in my situation, but keep that in mind. And I was trying to do some research on it, what I mean, because I have a Best Tech 12-volt inverter, and I was thinking about buying like a 500, not a 500. I was thinking about like 1,000 or 2,000 or something like that. And then I was watching these videos, and they were talking about. They didn't explicitly say, "Hey, it was kind of like a blip." As if you understand what they're talking about. And it was just like, so I need to find a video that really kind of lays that out. So true. That was my next question. You're on top of this. I need simple. Prepping on a creek. What's going on, man? I took the plunge on a 12.8-volt LiPo battery, and I might continue buying them. As cheap as they are now, you can do a lot with them. There's really no downside. I need to make that video because I think that video is going to be extremely helpful to a lot of people. But yeah, $400, $369, $349. There's even some really cheap ones that Will does the teardown videos on. I wouldn't recommend the super cheap ones. You go off of his judgment. But you just can't beat that. You can't beat that. Once you figure out the fact that you can charge it from the wall or from the power port of your power station. For example, these chargers that I have, they charge them at about 350 watts. So as long as you have a power station that can do 500 watts of power on the inverter, you can charge these batteries up and then use those batteries to power dump back into your power station. However you like. You could put an inverter on it and charge it via AC, or you could do a battery clamp to a 12-volt. You could do a battery clamp ring terminal to your power station's connection type. I can't necessarily say I recommend that. I actually bought a ring terminal to what is it? Anderson, because my Alcatel and Ace will take Andersons. I have a short out there showing me charging my Alcatel from one of those batteries. They just take that 12-volt, whatever volts they have in the battery, they'll take that times the amps that the power that they're pulling out, which is typically like 8 or whatever the socket is rated for. I don't think it goes much higher than that. It typically gives you about 100 watts of power. And it just does that till the battery dies. I think it's perfect. A whole 1,000 watt hours for $400. That's a good look. The PV 350 is amazing. Was pulling 295 chasing the sun. Ish. Listen, that's dope. What's up, man? Hi. Sun through trees this week. Okay. Question. The all power solar panel. It came with one part that plugs into the lighter and a solar panel. And the solar panel has 2 cords on it. How do I get that to work with the Blue Eddy? So 2%. This part right here, I put that in there for you because you were talking about how your EV70, you needed more USB ports. So I had an extra one laying around. It's a more low end one, like for normal cell phone stuff. So I just put that in the bag. That doesn't necessarily come with the solar panel. The panel itself, I believe, is MC4. I sent you the All Powers. The All Powers has the MC4 connection. You already have the MC4 to 8mm. That's pretty much it. Your situation is MC4 to 8mm, panel to power station. This adapter will go into your 12-volt socket to give you extra ports for charging your USB devices because you say you were kind of light. You wished it had more USB ports. Does that make sense? Silver Surfer, what's going on, man? I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. You doing okay? I hope you're doing okay. There are charts online that show the percentage drop from different lengths and voltages. Yeah, I my brain hasn't processed it, but I've seen them. I've definitely seen them. Set Tight said I posted a short showing extra batteries on the AC200P. Was that today? I think y'all should go and follow Set Tight's Tech Adventures. First of all, he's super smart. Hey. What's up? Why? What you got going on? Y'all should see her with this black woman stance. All she needs is her hand on her hip, but she holding a laptop.
Got me stuck with these kids.
Hey, listen, they're your kids. You gotta do what you gotta do. So he's super smart, and he's starting to do shorts. And I think his shorts are gonna be really nice. So y'all should go and check him out. Let me see if he answered me. Sharp Farmer said hi.
Hey, what's up?
T. Webster, what's happening? What's going on, man? You do know who you're talking to, right? Yeah, I'm talking to my wife. That's who I'm talking to. I know exactly who I'm talking to. Y'all know I ain't soft. That ain't how we built around here. Yeah, I got power stations all over the place. I'm sorry, baby.
Hey, y'all. The only reason why I come down is because it's like, okay, come on, bro. Let's wrap this thing up. That's the only reason why I came downstairs. What's short for me? What's her name again?
Sharon or Sharon?
Here I go, breaking stuff up.
There you go.
Hopefully you don't have too many of those people.
MJ's around here.
Hey, what's up, MJ?
Cowdog Connoisseur was around.
Cowdog, everybody. Everybody.
Everybody.
Even people I haven't had the pleasure of meeting and chatting with yet.
What's up, JC? There might be folks without electricity. They run power stations, batteries, okay, I'm not sure what that's in reference to. I'm doing good. Life is not that bad. Thanks for your concern. Love the video. I appreciate that, Paco.
Oh, Paco. I like that name, Paco.
Yeah, he was saying I'm hanging in there, and I'm like, "What you mean,
man?" Yeah. When you say I'm hanging in there, that means everything ain't great,
right?
Like you're hanging in there. So I would dig in a little bit.
It is casual. I'm hanging in there. True, that is a casual, but it's like you didn't say I'm doing good. Like I'm all right, man. You know
when I say I'm hanging in there on by a thread. Like, come see about me.
What's Prepping on the Creek talking about? Not really. I think in the 300 price range, they're pretty similar. I went with a 100 amp eco worthy that performs as expected. No low temp cutoff, but I'm not concerned about that. Me either. I mean, low temp cutoff is cool from time to time in some situations, but I don't care about that. I may damage a battery or two. I like the idea of power zones for emergency preparedness. Brother Dwayne is from the Inno.
Oh, snap.
Or at least he lives in the Inno. I'm pretty sure he's from the Inno. What's up, Came No Win?
Oh, black man.
Vic. Are you seeing Vic around these internets and these groups and stuff?
Who Came to Win?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. You into solar? Like into...
everybody in here into solar.
I mean, like casually or like, really into it.
Well, I don't know. You got to ask him. Vic, you casually into solar or you really into it?
See, I ask the questions he don't ask.
Yeah, obviously. I don't care. It's like, I'm a guy.
I'm just a guy.
Oh, I don't know what the reference is.
That's Jeff Foxworthy. No, I think that's Bill Engvall. Yeah, that's Bill Engvall.
Cold here in Colorado Springs when I know, right? I was talking with Jason Noyd about that earlier, man. He was just talking about how his winter sun just sucks. I was like, man, I could barely get my Alcatel and Ace Volt past 20%. They only get about 200 watt hours off of 400 watt panels. That's how bad it is because I can't angle my panels. They lay flat. And then my neighbor built all of this stuff that blocks my panels.
It's junk.
Don't be like that. You stop it. This is why we can't have her on the live stream, man.
That's a shed, right? It could be nice, but the thing is, it's not right now, at least. And it's right here.
Let's stop. These are our neighbors.
I love my neighbors' number.
You need to relax, man. What's the word? Judy, stop. Stop. Who knows what movie that's from? Here you go.
I know, right? The thing, I think for me, it was problematic is the fact that that's where the carpenter beads were. You know what I mean? So we were treating our house and also the wood on his monstrosity. You know what I mean? Just to kind of have a decent summer, but my bad. Anyway, you started it though, so.
Yeah, this guy, he sounds like Jim Florentine. We talk on Instagram. You
Oh,
know, the
yeah?
guy who's like, no, it's not that. It's not that. You remember that?
Mm-mm.
She was like, anyway, I'm gonna just have to let you listen to it.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
from years ago that we listened to that stuff, like circa 2008. Wayne says hello. What did
Hey,
he
what's
say?
up, Wayne? Look for my ninja. And I was like, go ahead, you can watch whatever you want to watch. He was like, oh,
Nice.
yeah.
Winning. Born and raised and resides in NO. That's what's up.
Oh, well, excuse me.
Listen,
What part?
that's something to be proud
What
of.
ward? I guess I should say. What ward you from?
Especially as you get older, man. You know what I mean? Like New Orleans has so much culture. It's
Yeah,
such a
y'all do.
wonderful place. It's violent, but it's wonderful.
I asked him what ward he's from because I think about you and Nate always talking about I'm from the ninth now, man. Like that, like go ahead. Justify it.
I can't justify it. That's why it's
Okay.
hilarious. It's hilarious. Because he's from the third ward. He's from Uptown. And he was like, I think we was joking about something. He was like, yeah, you know, you from that 9. You don't mind dying. It's just like, what? Y'all don't mind dying? How is that a slogan? I don't know what to do with that. It gives me a good chuckle all the time, man. Jeez. Oh, he's from the 8th ward. That's what's up. That's close.
I was say, is there really a such thing as an eighth ward? But I've never heard of the eighth ward. But I'm not from the NO either. I only know the third and the ninth.
So yes, my lady used to get me in fights also. Anywho, all right. I guess 121. This one is kind of short. Y'all, I hate charging from the wall. So much so to where it's ridiculous, and I really need to repent for my ways. It's like if I had a laptop, actually,
Wait, repent from what? What you mean?
it's like, dude, just go get a wall charger and plug your laptop in. My laptop be about to die. It's just like I got power stations that are empty. I'm like, man, where can I get
It's
some
funny
power
because
from?
I literally had asked him last night, hey, can you give me some power? I just want the power cord and the block for my laptop. He pulled out a whole power station, and I was like, oh, that was cool. It was very convenient, very easy. It wasn't in the wall. But then today he's walking around the house talking about, yeah, what would you say? There's sun out. Don't talk to me.
I was clowning. I was like, don't talk to me when the sun is out. Don't tell me nothing. The sun is out.
Like what?
Sun came out for a couple hours, man. Today was supposed to be a rainy day.
You just really felt I don't know.
I felt empowered.
Yeah, I was gonna say powerful. Huh?
Hey, I felt black and beautiful.
And it's funny because one last thing. Our electricity company, they send us weekly like usage, and so our usage went up by like 84% in just 1 week, and I was like, oh my gosh. And maybe we didn't get that bill yet. I don't know because the bill that we just paid was only like $65.
This is more important than what you're talking about right now. Since you're here, don't say anything, please.
Okay.
The missus has had a birthday recently.
Yeah.
So if any of you guys feel kindness in your soul and want to toss some coins towards her, whatever coins y'all send me, I'll send to her.
Thank you, babe. I turned 42.
No pressure, but there's some kind people. Yeah. Don't be giving out your information.
Can I talk about what I did?
Sure.
What can I not talk about?
When your birthday is.
Why can't I just say?
Don't just stop. Just don't be giving people information like that.
But it's already out there.
No. Don't volunteer. Go, please. Say whatever you want to say.
Anyway.
No. That's what it is from Jim Florentine. And it was a black woman. He drove her up the wall. He's like, it's not that. It's not that. No, it's not that. She's like, sir, I'm not gonna lose my.
Thank you, Shar. Thank you, Auntie Blessing. Hey, Auntie Blessing.
I'm gonna continue to have a good day, sir. Let me go and get through this strip. She said strip instead of script. Yeah, her drove.
Oh, the prank call.
His voice sounds very close to Jim Florentine.
Well, basically, Ivan, he gave me a weekend. It was kind of like a weekend retreat where I was able to get an Airbnb. It was a loft apartment Airbnb. It was really nice, y'all. It had like a fake fireplace, and it just
Hey,
was really
mama.
cool. The loft, it was such a departure from normal life. You know what I mean? And I had moments where it was like, man, if I was single, this is the kind of life I would like to live. And I appreciate having, the I guess the blessing in my heart that like I don't want this life. Don't get it twisted. I want my husband and I want them four rambunctious kids that tire me all the way out. That's my life and I love it. I just needed that quick departure to just kind of hang out by myself, just be quiet by myself, spend time with the Lord, just take my naps, wake up, eat, chill, watch TV without any interruptions. It was great, y'all. It was great from Friday to Monday. Came through one of those days, and that was nice. Yeah, so I had a really cool birthday, and then my birthday, we were able to hang out as a family, on the day of. It's like I gotta try and figure out how to talk in code.
Yes.
I just would like to just share my heart.
Forget your heart. Ain't nobody got time for
But
that.
I'm 42, and it's like, man, wow,
Oh,
just
look
thank
at
you for
my
all the
man
birthday
driving them
wishes.
verses. I don't know what James
James
4:7 is, but hey, it's in a good book. So
You know what? Give me the first three words, and
yeah,
I
James
know
is
the
one of my
verses.
favorite books.
I just don't necessarily know the geography of the texts.
I love when James he said he was like, yeah, y'all claim y'all know God. Demons know God too. Like you out here, you think you playing for this team, but you just out here knowing.
Barely that.
Stop, mama.
I feel like I just crashed the party.
You are always
I
welcome.
apologize to those of you who are here primarily for just the
No,
solar stuff.
we take the apologies back. Lauren Hill on her Unplugged album, she said, "I'm a whole person. You want 2/3 of me to stay outside? Like I'm a whole husband, father. It is what it is.
Submit yourself one to another. Is that the one?
Boom, maybe. Bunch of people say happy
Thank you,
birthday to
guys.
you.
Thank you. She's over there coloring.
She is a party. Does it matter the brand of solar extension cables, or are they pretty much the same? I typically, what I do is I go for kind of name brand. I go for how quickly I can get them and what the cost is per foot. So I could go for HQST. I've gotten a couple Renogy panels, Renogy extension cables lately that out of stock because the HQSTs, the 10 foot and the 15 foot was the same price as the 20 foot. So I bought a couple 12 gauge 20 foot Renogy cables. So Renogy, HQST, Windy Nation, those are kind of like my go-tos for. I've purchased like Tamac or Tamarack or something like that. So it's all about how quickly, cost per joint. I look at reviews and stuff like that. I don't veer too far off, so I kind of stick with the main folks. So that's kind of where I'm at with the extension cables. That is her. She's back there trying to draw and
Yeah.
stuff.
It's funny, like out of all these kids I had, she come along and want to be the one to eat crayons. Like legit, like multiple times have told her to stop, and she still does it. And it's just like I don't understand it. Like, and then she's the girl, so you kind of expect things to be a little bit different. Well, I did. I don't know if maybe that's just off, but I've just been expecting for things to be different with her, and she's the one doing the things that the boys didn't do. And I don't know. I don't know. It's blowing me. Oh, and yeah, and he will flee. True. Yeah, resist that dude.
All right, 2%. Dropping them verses. I appreciate you.
Yes. Hey, lady.
So yeah, I got to get my life together as far as like charging from the wall. I actually just plugged my son's phone into the
She wasn't
wall.
walking? Really?
When?
Last time 2% saw Baby Dell, she wasn't walking.
No, she's been walking for a long time.
Yeah,
I feel
she
like
walked since like she was 9 months.
she's a thug out here in these streets.
Yeah, it's probably why she pigeon-toed too, because she was walking too soon. I mean, not that I was trying to stop her, though, yeah, we did too. We had to look it up too.
All right. You guys have any questions? Yeah,
Any
where have
questions
you
that I can
been?
answer for y'all in
That's
the
right.
realm of
Where
solar
have you been? 2%.
noviceness?
How about that? Like you've been living your life. It's like
Right?
it's,
Living my
it's
life.
fine. You are missed. People are missed when you're not around. I'm happy when you come back. There ain't no pressure.
Yeah.
Hey, watch the videos to the end. You know what I mean? Like the videos. I appreciate that. Use my Amazon links to buy stuff.
Come says she's the girl.
She don't get no slack around here. Nah.
A little bit. I do feel a little bit, just a tad bit different, when it comes to her, because I do know that she's different. And, she's a girl. I mean, I wasn't expecting this type of difference, though. You know what I mean? She has to be different. Being on, yeah. Well, you better not stand out too much, you know? Because we do have to, because there are moments where I feel like there's a standard that just cuts across for all the kids. Like, one thing I've never been is the temper tantrum. Like, you're not throwing no temper tantrums. You're not falling out on the floor. You're not wilding out, being all like none of. I don't care what your gender is. Get up. You know what I mean? So she's kind of like trying me, and we don't do the whole terrible twos. We don't do that. Ain't nothing
Yeah,
terrible
people are
about two. You
stupid.
better get your act together.
I love that about Bill Burr. Bill Burr always says, he's like, man, the worst thing about parenting is people who tell you parenting is gonna suck. It's like terrible twos, and it's like, she's fine. It's like, oh, wait till you have the three-nager. He's just like, I'm so annoyed with you people. It's like my kids are fine.
Yeah.
They're fine.
They
Just
straight.
relax.
Yeah.
We've had not one terrible two ever,
I
and
mean, they tried it.
we're not gonna have one.
They tried it, but we shut that down real quick. It's all about being consistent, like consistent. I said no, and I meant no.
She has crayons too, by the way. So, how about you go and mother, trying to avoid your children? How dare you?
Yeah.
Man, I got all these power stations right here, and about two of them got power in them. I use these power stations every day. I'm telling you, man, I'm excited about being able to figure out which ones I'm going to keep and which ones I'm going to give away. I'm not quite there yet because I like to have replacements for the things instead of just whisking them away. But this Alcatel is going. I'm gonna look for that footage. That's for sure. And thank you for that compliment, T. Webster. I appreciate that. Early up above, you said something that was very nice. I forget what it was at the moment. So what I wanted to finish this out, this idea. I even struggle. I was talking with Nathan today, and because he was like, I think he had a couple of days of like shade or cloudy, and he was saying that he had to plug his stuff up and charge because maybe a storm was coming or something like that. And I had asked him, like, do you find yourself like struggling to do that, or was it easy? And what I was trying to see is like if I was gonna have to salute him, because I struggle with it, man. I hate plugging my power stations into the wall. But in the grand scheme of things, even if I take one of my bigger ones, right, the Alcatel Ace Volt, you plug that into the wall, it charges at 1100 watts an hour, and it'll store about 2 kilowatts. In the grand scheme of things, it's like 28 cents a power. Dell kind of calls me on that from time to time, and we have this like running joke. Was like, what's it gonna cost? Like 3 cents, babe? Really? That's what you're saving us, 3 cents. But that whole dip, it stores 28 cents of power. That kind of puts things into perspective. So it's like, why risk? You know what I mean? Like being caught with a power station that doesn't have a whole lot of power. It's like, just charge them. I'll tell you another thing. I'm coming around to that idea. But the thing is, I try not to have a situation where for the sake of preparedness, not preparedness in that sense, like a emergency situation, but like a storm is coming. Then the next day or the next day or so, then now I have a power station that's full, right? So I try to find this balance and okay, I'm gonna charge this to make sure that I have power if the electricity goes out, but I don't want to do too much to the next day where I don't have space to pull my power in. So because I got the River 2 Max, these two have become my fast favorite power stations to like just go charge and power dump into. And interestingly enough, I've talked about this multiple times, but with these bigger power stations, because they typically have these 36, 48-volt batteries, they have to regulate the voltage down to 13 or 12.7 or 12.6. I think it's called a buck converter is how they accomplish that. Um, so power dumping from the Alcatel into this, I just go AC. What is this over here? I just go AC because they're just as efficient on DC as they are on AC. So it's like, why bother with being limited to the super low voltage of DC when you could just charge through AC and come out with the same efficiency? So I literally just plugged them into the AC and I put power into both of them. I wonder what this came out to. My Alcatel did not have much power. It's at 67%. This one got up to 67%. This is actually the one that I charged today. What's it at? What's at 100? Because I put that little bit of power into it from. No, why is this at 100? Oh, it just got full. It got full from the Alcatel to 8 volt. Okay, so it's at 100. Um, and I pulled the flap off of this one so I could have easy access to this. And I also pulled the little rubber thing off of this one. I thought these things would have come out easier, but it's still in there. I thought they would have just been like had some little hooks on the outside, and then if you pulled it kind of to the angle enough, then the little prong would have popped out. But it's they're in there. I pulled I pulled the joint off of that one so I could have easy access to the AC, and I pulled the joint off of something else. And oh, one of my rock pals, the 500-watt one. It has two things on it for the joint, so I pulled one off just to see how it would go, and so I can have easy access to one, the actual AC outlet, not the AC in charging, whatever. It doesn't even have that as a barrel connector, but I pulled them off so I can have easy access. But these are like really nice. I really like having these charged up because they can charge really fast from AC. So it's an excellent way to get some power into a power station that can be easily deployed on a lamp or um, a TV or a monitor for somebody to watch. 500 watt hours would be better, but you know, what I mean, I got what I got. I would like to have that River base model, but I'm not going to pay for it because I don't need it. This River 2, if the fan can't be addressed, then it's not very helpful to me. I talked about that earlier. I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna figure it out. Even if I gotta charge this one most of the day via XT60 and just power dump from this, like basically returning to what my old setup was, which is to have this in my entertainment area. And if I have to strategically power dump into the, what is it? This joint, then I'll just do that because this one right here has a one way. It has a one way USB-C. So it's actually really perfect for power dumping into here. Now you would think that smaller one would be good, but the smaller River doesn't have 200-watt charging on it, so that's 110. I actually started using the River, the EcoFlow panel to charge this one right here. So I'll throw a little extra power into this one outside. I'll just throw that panel out there, lay it flat, or lay it up against something, and then I'll put it into here. So that's cool, but they're my favorite now, because they can be quickly charged. Whereas like what I would normally deploy on a lamp would be like a Go Labs. I have two of those Go Labs. So as things kind of shake out, maybe one of the Go Labs gets given away because I may not need that one. But here's the tough part. The Go Labs is LiFePo, but it charges from 60 watts from solar. Not super useful. Okay. The Rock Pals, the first one that I have, the 300 watt hour, I would like to give that one away first, but it can charge from 72 watts on solar. So it's a whole thing. But considering that I'm about to free up essentially the EcoFlow and maybe even the EB3A, would I even need the Rock Pals in its 72 watts of solar charging, right? I got the Jackery that does 85, the EcoFlow River base model that does up to 200, the EB3A that does up to 160. And then I have the big rock pals that I just got. That video is going to be coming soon, where I went to go get the joint. It's like a little vlog style video. That one can charge at 72 watts from the barrel connector. And I think it could charge a little faster from the Anderson. So it's like me being able to like, okay, boom, that. And then this EV70 is going to be moving because I'm bringing up a bigger power station. So that one will probably be able to be paired with my All Powers 200 watt panel. I would love to get one of those EcoFlow joints. You know what? Quick blip. I hope the EcoFlow River Pro 2 or the River 2 Pro, I hope they're not releasing that because when they release it, hopefully it can take in up to 400 watts of solar. I don't understand why that dip can't take in 400 watts of solar. They have a 400 watt panel um, that I think it would be perfect for because as I talked about on the EcoFlow Live, you got the base model that does 100 watts, and then the middle one does 200 watts, and then the more expensive one does 200 watts. And they did this tiered approach compared to the first EcoFlow River, which all had the same specs in it. So you had to respect that. I thought that that was dope to be able to get the base model that had a 600 watt inverter and a 200 watt solar input. And then the other one, same thing. The other one, same thing. But with this one having a 300 watt inverter, 100 watts of solar, a 500 watt inverter, 200 watts of solar, a 700 watt inverter, 200 watts of solar. It's just like, what are we doing here? Give it 400. The panel is perfect for it. I forget, Wayne was telling me the voltage and the amps, and it's just like they should be able to make that thing to work that way. And it can take in series, so you could easily put two of their 200 watt bifacial panels into it. Well, yeah, you should be able to do that, right? Okay, cool. That 400 watt EcoFlow panel is $1,200. Yeah, that's crazy. Somebody was talking about they got it for I think Deontay said he got it for $730. Oh wait. The 400 watt folding panel is that tight, or the 400 watt? I guess you have to be talking about the folding panel. Okay, I see. She had to be different, being the only girl. She was born in. Yeah, we saw that. I got you. I guess she's gonna be different. I mean, she's a girl, so I get it. Let me see if I'm just getting a delayed on my.
Just so you can get back to solar.
No, we read it already. Oh. Wait, what happened? My son passed it. That guy looks like his uncle. I told him I told you a while back you look like him. Interesting. I don't remember that. Okay, let's see what we got here. It was 900 on sale, but yeah, I think the 900 folding panel is normally 200. Yeah, what? No. A 400 watt folding panel is $200 normally. No, it will be $800. It's $2 per watt. Hey, Kimber Jack, you all late to the party?
Hey, Kimber Jack.
Bruh, I sit in the same place every day. That's it.
I just want to be able to see.
Let's put you in focus. You want to come through loud and, you know what I mean? There you go. Somebody told my wife, she made a post about our Thanksgiving dinner, and she was not impressed with our Thanksgiving dinner. She rated it like a 6 out of 10. And one of our social media friends was like, "You like the only Black woman who would admit to not cooking their best." And somebody said, "I can't wait for the Dell's Life YouTube channel or something like that. And I've always told her that she is the star of our family social dynamic. You know what I mean? It's like I'm cool, but I ain't the star. I have to be it sometimes because she don't really make videos, but I was wondering where you were. I was traveling and didn't know you were on. My bad. I should have messaged you. My bad. Um, so I was literally thinking I'm making a point about this camera. I was thinking like, man, we should kind of take the plunge and buy a good camera. But it's literally no cameras out there that are worth my money. That I was literally thinking about this the last day or so. Like, man, we could get a nice little compact, cool camera, but they don't make one that I'm willing to spend money on, and that's sad. There's this channel called Camera Conspiracies. The dude is a little vulgar, but he digs into these camera companies because it's like they'll take two steps forward and like three steps backward, and it's just like, why are they all like, nobody can sit down and just make a camera that has what you need in it? And it's just like, nope, they won't do it. So I ain't spending a coin. But we need another camera. You know what I mean? It is what it is. All right. Where are your sons? They are so quiet. They're upstairs. Oh, also a point of clarity. Our sons are rambunctious according to us. We do not have rambunctious kids like y'all might think. Our kids be chilling. They are boys, but they don't be wilding like that. When I think about rambunctious kids, I think about kids who can't keep still. They're climbing all over stuff and all that jazz, and it's like they're not. Yeah, they are boys, but they're not wild.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm speaking to those moments when they are rambunctious. That's one thing we often get every time we go out when we have a kid with us. Always, oh, your kids are so good. Oh, your kids are so well behaved. Like, thank you. I'm like,
All right. Cameras are too expensive. My son is a photographer. That's nice.
oh, sweet.
He teaches me how to use this my cell phone. Say that again.
Whose son?
T Webster.
Oh, cool.
I call him T Wayne.
Why? It's Webster.
Well, his name is Wayne.
Oh, okay.
So we'll just leave it at that. All right, y'all. I just be hanging out at this point, and we need to dial into the evening. I appreciate you guys so much. Again, if you're feeling kindness towards the missus, she had a birthday recently, so anything you guys give to me, I'm gonna give to her. And that's no pressure for anybody. You know what I mean? It's like I get it. I think Ann was talking about trying to buy something. And I was like, oh, I got $20 on it. And Ann sent me like $20. I was like, I was trying to give money to you. She sent me money. So shout out to you, Ann. Shout out to the Patreon supporters. I appreciate you guys greatly. Shout out to you guys who say thanks for coins, just for interacting with me. I want you guys to know that you can always reach out and ask me questions as time permits. Life gets busy, and as the channel grows, it'll only get busier. But I'm here to help. I need you to stop being a hater. Life is occupied. That's kind of what I mean. I have a very occupied mind with tasks and things like that. Shoot, I ain't put out a video in 2 weeks. I got stuff to do.
Really?
2 weeks.
Why?
I didn't have I need to organize these files. I'm missing some files. I'm trying to find footage and stuff like that. My computer not having a whole lot of storage. I have constraints, so then I find myself having to dump data onto these SSDs, and it just becomes a whole thing. I did get a new computer, which has some good storage in it. It has a 1 terabyte SSD in it. It was a $1,700 computer, and I got it for $1,000, so that was a good look. I got to get it together. All right, y'all be beautiful. I'm out of here. Wait, that's the Cash App. The other stuff, just for in general, is always in the description of my newer videos. My contact information is always in the description of my newer videos. Y'all be beautiful. I'm gonna put that video out that has the little blip about the Alcatel P501 that I want to give away. And hopefully one of you guys who are regulars will win it, but it's open to anybody who happens to pay attention to the video and finish it. All right. Yeah, that too.